There are 8.1 billion people in the world, 5.6 billion mobile users, 5.2 billion internet users, and 4.9 billion social media users. And question nowadays is, how does your brand stand out in a noisy digital marketplace? It is a great question. Thank you. The first lesson is building a great experience. Customers tell each other word of mouth is of paramount importance. Second lesson is about being consumer centric. So many brands nowadays are competitor centric, boardroom centric, but Amazon has always been consumer centric. So being consumer centric can make your brand trailblazing. Third lesson is reinventing yourself. As we have noticed, Amazon has always reinvented itself. So we need to bear in mind that every brands need to evolve, to move forward, to listen to their consumers. But it is clear as crystal that so many brands nowadays don't evolve. They rest on their laurels. They lose market share, and they go out of business because they don't reinvent themselves. Fourth lesson is all about being patient. We need to keep in mind that Rome was not built in a day, so we need to take one step at a time. And the last lesson from Amazon is about being experimental. Jeff Bezos said that if you double the number of experiments you do per year, you are going to double your inventiveness. I believe that Amazon is the most valuable retail brand nowadays. Amazon listens to their consumers. It provides free shipping. You save so much money. And even Amazon gives prime content for free. Whereas this industry is a short-term transactional, many businesses are concerned about what happens next 3-5 months. But whereas Amazon thinks about what happens in the next 5, 10, 15 years. So not being consumer centric is the biggest threat to any business. So I believe that these 5 lessons, building a great experience, being consumer centric, reinventing yourself, being patient, and being experimental can drive your results forward. There are 8.1 billion people in the world, 5.6 billion mobile users, 5.2 billion internet users, and 4.9 billion social media users. And question nowadays is, how does your brand stand out in a noisy digital marketplace? 6 hours and 38 minutes spent surfing the internet, 2 hours and 26 minutes spent using social media. Also 1 hour and 38 minutes spent listening to music streaming services, and over 1 hour spent listening to podcasts nowadays. And even I believe that it's all about winning attention across social media channels. It's all about storytelling. It's all about humanizing your brand. And what was happening before the internet, right? Every brand was pushing their message on billboards, on TV, outdoor, so they were not in communication with their consumers. In 1971, a TV commercial would change your business, but nowadays social media content changes your business. So social media content, along with OTT, Netflix, Hulu, are the most dominant consumption tools in our society. It's clear that so many brands are transactional nowadays. They send sales pitches to their consumers, but only tiny minority of brands tell their stories, get closer to their consumers. The best example is Elon Musk. Elon Musk personal brand powers Tesla's success, whereas traditional automakers burn cash on advertising. Tesla has never depended on advertising. Tesla does not even have an advertising department. Tesla heavily depends on the strong personal brand of Elon Musk, because Elon directly communicates with millions of followers on social media. This is a great unique marketing tactic that was utilized by Tesla and Elon Musk, because Elon's active presence on social media allows him to communicate directly with consumers. and because it's cost effective, whereas traditional advertising can be expensive and overpriced, So Tesla has fostered a passionate community of customers who advocate for the brand and without the need for traditional advertising. Owners of Tesla vehicles often become a brand evangelist, sharing positive experiences with friends on social media. From this retrospect, Tesla has higher market valuation than other automotive brands. For example, Mercedes-Benz spends $945 per car on advertising. Tesla spends $0. We don't know anybody from other automotive traditional automakers because their executives don't connect with their consumers in the digital age, whereas Elon Musk directly communicates with millions of followers on Twitter. Even if we look at Airbnb's example, co-founder Brian Chesky is very active on Twitter, so he communicates directly with consumers, Airbnb's users, and improves Airbnb's products through by leaps and bounds through listening to Airbnb's users. I think that our business world can learn a great deal from Elon Musk and Brian Chesky, how they can humanize their brands, how they can put a human face on their businesses and directly communicate with thousands and millions of followers on Twitter. So consumer connection is of paramount importance. If brands don't create content, don't tell their stories, don't communicate, don't if executives are not interested in improving Airbnb in their products online is a digital age, they should not be in business. And we have seen so many examples. For example, Blockbuster went out of business because they disregarded consumers in the digital age. They did not buy Netflix for $50 million, and also Kodak went out of business. Airbnb disrupted hospitality brands, and disruption will touch every industry. So brands need to be open-minded, consumer-centric, connect with their consumers in the digital age, and to tell their stories. Brands make a huge mistake because they are transactional. They create content that is in their best interest. They disregard consumers. 95% of brands are oriented on sales, whereas 5% of brands are oriented on creating content that is followers' best interest, audiences, consumers' best interest. I think it's all about positioning your brand as a media company, and you have to imagine that you are Forbes, you are a Bloomberg of your industry. You have to provide enlightening, informative content to your audiences. It's never about sending sales pitches and inviting consumers to visit your website, informing them that you have 20% sales. It's all about, for example, Ericsson in Sweden. They have 5G podcasts, AI podcasts, IoT podcasts. They collaborate with digital transformation influencers and thought leaders to create informative and enlightening podcast episodes. So I believe that every brand needs to be in a publishing business. It's but unfortunately they are in advertising mode. As we know, 1 out of 3 consumer has ad blockers on their devices, and consumers nowadays no longer trust and believe those ads. So more than 700 million consumers have ad blockers on their devices, because even if I see a 5-second with advertising on YouTube, I no longer trust and believe those ads because they are same all the time. So I think that storytelling is a game. Creating content that is in consumers' best interest is what sets you apart. So I think that every brand needs to strike while the iron is hot and make hay while the sun shines to win in the long term. Brand storytelling is all about bringing value. It does not matter what marketing teams do. They need to tell their stories. It is the most game-changing skill nowadays. Storytelling is a game. Storytelling is why Apple is Apple. Storytelling is why Elon Musk has built Tesla. Storytelling is why, for example, Richard Branson has built huge businesses, because he's a true storyteller to the core. And storytelling is a powerful tool that can help amplify a brand's message and to connect with consumers on a deeper level. And most importantly, we need to mention that to build emotional connection with their consumers. For example, Nike has emotional connection with its consumers. We know that when we wear Nike, we know that we will achieve more, we will go faster, nothing is impossible, and sky is the limit, because Nike has emotional attachment to consumers. For example, Harley Davidson has emotional connection with its consumers, because as we know, more than 700 riders go to stages in South Dakota to attend festivals together. So Harley Davidson brings community together by organizing festivals in Sturgis, South Dakota. Also, Starbucks has emotional connection with its consumers. It's all about emotional connection. Coca-Cola is nowadays is associated with happiness. When we think about Coca-Cola, we think about happiness, polar bears, and like this Christmas advertising campaigns. So I think that we need to create a compelling narrative. We need to develop stories that revolves around a brand's values, mission, or the problem or product brand solve. Second is about identifying a target audience. Third is consistency across all channels. Fourth is showcasing authenticity. Fifth, engaging and interact. Also, brands need to leverage user generated content, and brands need to educate and inform um, their consumers. So ultimately, brands that create a lasting impression win in the long term. Well, I want brands to become more practical, to become more consumer centric, to push content creation, storytelling. They need to become storyteller to the core. I want my clients to create emotional connection with their consumers. Otherwise, it will be tough, because consumers no longer trust and believe those ads, and it's imperative brands and to position themselves as media companies, because as I mentioned, that content creation alongside along with OTT, Netflix and Hulu are the most dominant consumption tools nowadays. So brands need to create content. Brands need to strike while the iron is hot, and to tell their best stories. So I believe that I share my actionable insights, practical insights, with my audiences, because I have spearheaded one of the fastest growing personal brands in the world on a shoestring budget. It costs $0 nowadays to build a sought after and solid brand. Whereas traditional marketing, traditional advertising is overpriced. So if you want to buy a billboard, you have to pay. It's expensive. If you want to run TV commercials, it's expensive. If you want to buy a full page ad in the newspaper, it's expensive. So social media brand building is free. Unfortunately, only tiny minority of brands and executives realize this, because downloading Twitter is free, distributing content is free, tweeting is free, uploading videos to YouTube is free, creating a Tumblr account is free, capitalizing on the power of video on TikTok is free. So if brands are in a content creation mode, they truly win consumers' attention. So I truly believe that my clients become storytellers, consumer centric. They start thinking in the long term. A majority of brands think about what happens in the next 5, 6, 7 months, but my clients start thinking what happens in the 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, because it's all about customer centricity, long-term planning, long-term thinking, long-term vision. And brands need to become more practical, because we have witnessed many brands have gone out of business because they were not practical. They disregarded consumers in digital age. They were in their ivory towers and totally did not adapt to the reality of the digital fourth industrial revolution. So I believe that I inspire my clients to turn their companies into AI first company. They need to bring in a chief AI officer, because if brands start utilizing AI technologies, they will have a competitive advantage. That's why they will build their businesses faster, stay ahead of the curve, and win in the long term.